talking about roaches, there is once again a roach warren here coming up on this map. This seems to be a staple build for this one that you're always going to have to keep in mind. And we're not seeing 2 Evo chambers coming down at the same time either. We're not seeing a lay attack coming up, so it's just going to be slow roach ravager here. Could just be for the poking and trying to get us a little bit of damage early on. Or it could be more than that, of course. Still getting the spore crawlers back at home as well, as we have a battle cruiser opening here for Cure.
Yeah, and this is actually a pretty quick transition into a third base as well, so I'm interested to see that battle cruisers come up as late as it has. Usually want to rush that out really, really fast. That could lean into Serral's advantage here because he has plenty of roaches coming across, and that battle cruiser being delayed is going to hurt Cure's ability to be able to shut this down. So right now, Cure has to run everything back. Those Hellions know that everything is on the way. The third immediately getting picked up and brought back into the main. And Cure is already in desperation mode. He doesn't have a whole lot to shut this down.
Yeah, I mean, the battlecruiser is still only halfway at the moment. A lot of links also here on the ball. And looks like Serral, first and foremost, will target down the supply depots. Kind of indicates that he is just trying to get whatever he can at the moment, waiting for that Overlord to get towards that high ground at the moment as well. There we go, gets those files now landing on top of those supply depots. Also, there's bunkers waiting though, and that battlecruiser about to pop out. The Zerglings may be in for a little bit of a nasty surprise trying to run up that ramp with this amount of Hellions and the battlecruiser there.
Well, I still think this is a really rough position for Cure to try to play from because there are enough Roaches and Ravagers here to try and zone out the Hellions, but the Link Flood is going to try and push on forward, trying to deny the repair on that orbital. So now Cure having to run 2 bases up into his main. That completely shuts down his economy. Serral on the backside of this is going to be able to drone up. He's going to try and delay this push back as long as humanly possible, but he should have enough units back at home to protect against this. Already throwing down the spore crawlers into those mineral lines. Take a look at that income advantage he's immediately going to get on top of, and suddenly Cure is looking a little weak on the rebound here. He's going to try and get some damage done, but I'm not sure what he's going to get accomplished.
Yeah, but ultimately, like, all right, he did manage to deny the mining there for a long time. Some of the SCV production, of course, not quite being able to go as fluently as he wants to. But at the same time, Serral, of course, I mean, look at that. Only at the 7-minute mark right there, that layer coming up at the moment. Also, that paneling that's very much delayed. He's going to go up against Mech as well, it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's still a playable position for Cure here. There's not that many Queens out on the field either. Still a long way off any spy attack, of course, now. And these battlecruisers, they are very likely to do a lot of damage at the moment.
Yeah, he's committing into those battlecruisers quite a bit here. He's got a third one in production already. Yamato Cannon being researched as well. And with 2, it's a little bit more difficult for Serral to try and deflect these off. He just doesn't have enough Queens. He's already lost 9 drones as a result of it as well. So this ended up being a pretty decent transition and pivot here for Cure, making things a little bit more confident here than I think Serral was even prepared for.
Yeah, still zapping away at Queens and Overlords right now. Serral still sitting at an okay drone count, but he is losing a lot of stuff. In the bottom right side, we can clearly see 2,300 resources lost by Serral, 600 there lost by Cure. So Cure definitely kind of equalizing the score here, and making things all playable again for him after having that lost mining time and such, right?
The way. And he's just going to continue moving out. He is in a comfortable position where he has those sensor towers. He's traded super efficiently all game, only losing 1 tank in this entire game so far. I mean, he has had a very, very good run so far with making the most of what he's built. And that is going to put a person like Serral on the back foot as he consistently has to try and trade inefficiently.
Yeah, up until he has a better army composition, right? And he's still quite far removed from here. A good couple of bios could pick up those valuable units still as well very nicely and trade efficiently in this way. Okay, the Corruptor's also flying in, tanking a lot of the firepower from the Thors, I suppose, but oi, 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 the supply for Serral going down quite a bit more rapidly than that of Cure. And more roaches and more Zerglings here to replace it for now. I'm just looking at that production tab. What is he going to go for? Is he going into the Greatest Spire? I would have a hard time believing that, honestly, against this amount of Thors. Okay, he's going for a Nidus Worm. And there is the Greatest Spire also coming up with another Spire. So it looks like this is going to be the way he wants to try and combat this Thors. Go for the Broodlords and go for the Infestors as well. Get the Neurals perhaps onto the Thors and allow your Broodlords to get more damage done on the ground forces of Cure. And 20 Mutalisk on the way. What?
That's a funky little transition here. I like that. That will definitely catch Serral, or catch Cure off guard, excuse me. It's going to be a matter of whether or not Serral has enough on the ground to be able to deal with those Thors, because obviously Thors are really good against those Mutas. It doesn't matter how much you magic box them, but this is going to be the kind of harassment that the Nidus network wasn't able to get accomplished. He's going to take those Mutas right into the main base and hope that Cure hasn't populated everything with a ton of turrets. And I think even if he does, at least 20 Mutas, we'll be able to get some of those defenses killed off pretty quickly as they just fly on in and immediately start getting on top of the production here. Corruptors being brought in as well to deal damage, and all of a sudden all these factories are now under attack.
Yeah, it's almost like he's, again, trying to buy himself time. I very much like this, honestly, because it kind of lets him clean up these smaller defensive forces in the main base, and then perhaps, if he wants to, he could try to, once again, go more so for the Nidus Swims into the main base. If he does manage to open some actual place up in that main base, right? He can try to get those Roaches and Ravages in there also. But it looks like Cure is really prepared for that one. But yeah, the Mutalisk, maybe again, once more, a bit of a mechanism to try and take attention away from their bottom base, put pressure elsewhere, and keep mining from that location.
Well, it's going to put us into a position where Serral is able to swap out armies rather frequently. I mean, look at that bank. 8K in minerals, 4K in gas. He can easily trade out as efficiently as he can and try and come back with a new army composition that might just get Cure off foot. So any disadvantage that Serral had earlier in the game, I mean, he's kind of wrestled it back here. He's got a pretty decent worker count. He actually did manage to take that base in the bottom side. And now Serral trying to get as much information as he possibly can. He's got chitinous plating on the way, so Altars are going to hit the field at some point. But Cure already has Liberators out, should be able to help deal with those effectively. But it's more Mutas in production to try and continue exploiting the slow-moving mech army of Cure. Just absolutely love the amount of minerals both of these players have so much money in the bank. And Serral will feel super confident. He doesn't want to trade too inefficiently, because obviously if all of a sudden he throws away 40-50 armor supply without damaging Cure in any way, Cure's just going to march across the map and win the game. But when you've got that much in the bank, I mean, you can just keep being bold with those Mutas. Go in on those mineral lines. Get on top of those tanks and pick a few off now and again. You can easily remake those, and Serral's the kind of player who's going to stay on top of his injects, so that is going to be just fine. And he's going to get on top of this base once again. This is now just an orbital command, so not going to have the extra fortifications. Trying to split in a couple of different locations, slow down the Thor and tank army that's coming to reinforce. But now those Mutas being zoned off. In fact, they might have actually been picked away at. I guess he still has 10, but not enough to deal any major damage to that orbital command. So 11 workers going to go down, but Cure gets to keep the base for now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little bit worried. Cure is still managing to mine from these two locations, and he has a lot of bases to kind of float over there whenever he needs to, right? And the overall resources lost tab, not looking all that fantastic for Serral at the moment. I don't know. If he does manage to grab one of these bases and start mining from it himself, fantastic. He's going to be in a great spot with this type of army and these types of tactics, but we're not quite seeing that. We're still seeing Cure maintaining control of these bases, and Serral, yeah, he's getting some trades here and there, but ultimately the resources lost is going further and further into favor for Cure, and that That is what Cure wants. This is what he's trying to get done. Serral, I feel like he has to try and come up with a way to start gaining more favorable traits, and that could be with the Infestors, that could be with, I don't know, maybe Swarm Host or something like that as well, right? Just grab yourself, not an insane amount, but just enough to kind of pick off a siege tank over and over and over again, to whittle down the defenses without losing too much yourself. All right, here we go, though. These Infestors, absolutely fantastic. You managed to get on top of 3 of these Thors. The siege tanks also falling rather rapidly, and that is a great way to start being more efficient with your army overall.
Well, Kozan, the best way to
in a bit of trouble.
The best way to be a Terran army is just to fight him with a Terran army, and that's exactly what Serral's going to do. He's going to take all of Cure's units and use them against him. 124 Zerglings in production, Kozad. He's starting to feel confident for that Ling Swarm, but I don't know. I don't know if I like that decision. Obviously, Serral's got the master plan baking in the back of his brain, but I still feel like there's too many tanks out on the map. However, there could still be enough Infestor energy to try and take over more of those units, and those Lings will be able to get the work done that they want to. But here comes the Swarm. Is just going to pile on into that 3rd and 4th base location, actually getting on top of those tanks that I was concerned about earlier. They're all unsieged, and now they are all gone. So Serral getting some good, efficient trades there, trading out Zerglings for tanks is a great position for him, but right now lacking a little bit of the larva to remax here, or he's being indecisive on what he wants to remax to.
Yeah, we'll be able to still maintain the mining there overall. A couple of hellbeds there. You know what? Serral does have to be careful, right? Can't afford to lose too many more, otherwise he will have to replenish them, and that is the opposite of what he would like to do at the moment. Losing a queen there also those are important units, right? In those final fights with the Ultralisk and the Brute Lords, this could be very important to have those transfusions, but in fact we have a massive attack right here. Careful not to clump up against those Liberators for the time being, but again, Serral?
Core's playing this out really well. He has forced Serral to constantly trade into him, so Cure can't just barrel ahead. But secretly, he's already kind of made that work out in his favor. He never has to move out onto the map, and Serral's always going to come to him. So keeping those Liberators siege, keeping those tanks siege, Serral's going to constantly lose more and more. And it's becoming a bit of a back and forth here. But is that 21 Broodlords on the production tab right now?
It very well could be. It's going to be scary to see all those Broodlords for sure, but okay, he still has 14 Corruptors here also. I'm not sure how this is going to go. If he gets good Neurals on top of those Thors, maybe, but I mean, there's already missile turrets here coming up as well. Looks like Serral will try to make his move on the top right side again here, as he is losing actually one of his own bases also on the bottom side. Needs every single mineral from these patches that he can get, right? It is absolutely crucial. He manages to squeeze out as much as he can.
Well, this is important. This is important information to note here, Kozan. There is no gas production here for Serral. So every gas unit that Serral loses, it is almost impossible to replace. He has a small amount of gas in his bank, but that is it. So this feels almost like a little bit of a last-ditch effort by Serral to try and push forward. Only now getting a little bit of gas production back, but this still feels very scary for both of these players. This is a very difficult army to try and engage on top of, especially with Vipers.
Yeah, I mean, Blinding Cloud could be pretty darn good here, but so could those Liberators, right? 12 of them, 11 of them, with a couple of Thors underneath as well. That's a lot of damage that can be thrown out there. All of them do have +3 upgrades as well. Look at the red bar there. All the upgrades for Serral also completed. Okay, Serral does manage to deny mining there as well. That top right side is still quite open in the amount of stuff is available there for Cure, so a very important base for Serral to clean up. And actually, the overall resources lost tab here getting a little bit closer for Serral, so looking a little bit brighter for our Finnish player here. Absolutely devastating blow army there that is available for Cure. That is so many Thors. That is still so much anti-air available. That is absolutely terrifying. A lot of Lings could help out a ton here, right? We still have a little bit of a bank, but here we go. Actually, quite a couple of spells there The fungal and the parasitic bomb.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That does shut down and kind of really damage the Liberators that Cure needs to be able to zone out these bulky ground units of Serral. And this is getting to be a bit of another scenario where Serral's going to have to try and chain those again, but now I think Cure is going to be able to spread that just a little bit better. It's going to try and punish it on the top right by getting on top of more production, but Cure, I feel really confident for Cure. It seems like he's making the right decisions here in game number 1 to try and just be careful with his push, that he doesn't overextend, and these scans have been so good for him. Serral unable to get those infestors in a secret place so he can pick off those units and make this fight more doable for him.
Yeah, it is just all coming down to one single fight here. Neither of these players fully committed yet. Both just looking for whatever they can pick off at the time. Serral trying to ensure that this will be the final fight, shutting down more loose units here and there, trying to find whatever mining may still be happening on the top side, and kind of punishing Cure for trying to move out here with these links at the moment. Gotta be careful though, those links are still very valuable to have around, right? Like, especially against this amount of Thors, they will do quite well against those. If you manage to get them on top without too many Hellions or Hellbats in the neighborhood to help out.
Alright, so now the question becomes... Serral's getting a lot of great damage done. Ooh, okay, another good fungal going down, and that's going to be another chained parasitic bomb. Look at how much damage that gets done. Cure not even trying to do anything about that. So now a whole bunch of those Liberators go down. He's only got 5 left. This is exactly what Serral needs. He's pinning this off with the fact that he's been harassing the production of Cure. So Cure not able to reproduce those units as quickly as he wants to. And the Ling Flood continues to stream across the map as Serral's trying to take those bases as well.
Don't fight this with Ling Serral, please. Oh, he's losing so many so quickly. Look at that. That's ridiculous. Oh, yo. Okay, well, I mean, he saves the base, I suppose. I'm not sure if that was worth it. Not that much left anymore on that base. I'm surprised he took it even at the moment. But anyway, I mean, that bottom base there seems a little bit more valuable at the moment. I suppose it is where Cure's army is also situated as well. So more likely to be picked off. Again, trying to pick off the low HP Liberators.
Well, now it's finally Cure starting to get more of those Liberators in production. He's got 5 on the way. Still needs those to be able to help zone for the Thors. But we're just continuing to see these two big armies posturing against each other. No player wants to advance too far forward. We're at the 37-minute mark of this game, Kozan. And ideally, I don't know if that we have a clear end in sight yet.
It is a difficult one to call, honestly. I mean, this is a situation you don't see all too often, right? Especially with this amount of Brood Lords and such also in play. Not usually what you really go for against the Thors, but oh, here we go. More parasitic bombs on top of the Vikings. The Vikings trying to get away. Again, the Brood Lords, they feel like they have to just retreat. Well, the Corruptus, okay, finally coming in to help out in this situation. These bases, as we've mentioned, they are empty, so it's not the worst for Serral to give these up. It's a little bit of a shame that he won't be able to use those larvae that he has available on that location. 6 small Broodlords just like that on the way here. But will they be able to morph in time? Already is Cure actually very aggressive right now, wants to force this fight. Serral may want to reconsider having those Broodlords being morphed right there. All of them will be picked off. The Corruptus, I don't know what he's doing with the Corruptus. The Corruptus are trying to come in here, trying to get rid of the Liberators at the moment. Okay, the Brood Lord's also coming in. Infestors getting right on top of some of these stores. Neuroparasite looking pretty darn good. Okay, will it be enough? The army supply for Cure here is still looking relatively strong, but it will fall a little bit quicker right now as those store numbers get lower and lower. The overall targeting from those stores not quite working out, and it's a massive portion of both players, their armies going down right now. 7 Broodlords remain. Only a handful of Thors also.
Yeah, but this isn't even a game over situation here, Kozan. I mean, both players are on 12 to 13 workers. The army counts are rather similar. Now, one thing that Cure does have going for him is those Hellions and Hellbats are going to be very, very good against the Lings of his opponent. But those Broodlords are still a very good force to deal with. I do like Cure's position, though. It feels as if Cure has very anti-Serral army composition right now, and both players have just been absolutely gutted. Both players are depleting their bank. There's no gas income for either player, and if you have no gas income for both players, Cure is going to benefit from that so much more than Serral will, because those Hellions will just trade out so effectively against Zerglings.
Yeah.
And now the last bastions of gas trying to be used here by Serral, those roaches in production. What a scrappy game number one in a best of 5.
For sure. Yeah, and it almost feels like it is coming down to the inefficient trading that happens, right? Because it never really went too far away anymore after that moment in time, but we're still seeing like around the 5 to 6k in difference right there, and that is kind of being represented now as well in Cure's army. I feel like that is still just looking a little bit feistier, a little bit more healthy overall. But something I like very much of Serral as well is he went for Roaches and Ravages instead of reinforcing with more Lings, trying to be efficient with these vials. Perhaps will be able to get himself still somewhat of a positive trade here. Needs to avoid Cure from getting this base, though. He cannot afford to let Cure take a base advantage. That would be game ending.
Yes, it absolutely would. How Serral still has units that are high tech is just beyond me. He still has 5 Infestors. He's got 7 of those Broodlords. He has what he needs to try and shut this down, but he needs to try and push in before Cure can get more army put together. And this is now kind of the big engagement here. Those Ravagers going to swing on in the left-hand side. The Infestors on the top trying to get some good pick-offs with Neural, but not going to find everything that they're looking for. But Serral trying his hardest to push forward here. Those Broodlords are still able to siege from the back. Thor's getting dangerously low, but the range is so good, and both of these players are still so insanely close. The Orbital Command does get picked off, so Cure not able to just float onto that base.
Get those. Oh, he didn't quite target them correctly there with the Broodlords. The Ravager's not. I mean, it's such a rough call to make. The Infestors getting hunted down by the Hellions as that fight was going on. A very, very nice little micro thing there from Cure here. Oh, the Ravagers trying to commit. They do manage the kill of the repair. Thanks, but the repair is so good in this situation. GG, a single Thor and a couple of Hellions. Man.